Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to our channel. Grab a cup of coffee or tea and let's dive into today's video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. It's a simple gesture that would be immensely helpful, and your subscription means a lot to us. Knowing that you're a part of our community motivates us to put the hard work into creating these videos. Now, without further ado, let's jump right into today's video. I got home 15 minutes ago and was surprised to find that my wife Andrea wasn't home yet. She usually comes home before me and starts cooking dinner. I grabbed a beer and was about to call her when she called me first. She said they were about to leave work and she had a surprise for me. I told her I'd like it and that we needed to talk when she got home. 20 minutes later, Andrea arrived, looking a bit disheveled with wrinkled clothes, no stockings, and messy hair and makeup. I noticed and asked her what's going on. Andrea hugged me and whispered that she loves me and knows I'd do anything for her. She then told me that she talked to her boss, Ricardo, about our relationship. He shared some ideas about submissive men and how it can improve relationships. Andrea found those stories erotic and wanted to explore them. She also mentioned that I let her make decisions about important things like vacations, movies, restaurants, and even my clothes. But while I let you make decisions about vacations, movies, restaurants, and my clothes, when it comes to things like buying a house, cars, investments, and significant financial choices, I take the lead. It's not about being submissive. I just want you to be happy. My dad once shared the secret to a happy marriage. Don't stress about the small stuff because most things are small stuff. Life should be positive and happy. Andrea still insisted that her boss compared me to him and described himself as an alpha male, dominant, and powerful. He claimed that people like me, caring and kind, are more like beta males who enjoy being submissive. I didn't buy into this psychology talk, but Andrea seemed guilty and less confident. She revealed that her boss planned to dominate her in bed and boasted about his abilities. They had intimate encounters in his office, and she was drawn to the excitement. Andrea believed it could take our love and sex life to a new level. Shocked, I asked if she was joking and how she thought I could accept this. Andrea insisted that I loved her and wanted her to be happy. The bomb dropped when she admitted to intimate conversations and caressing her boss's penis, though they hadn't had sex yet. She claimed he fingered her in the car outside our house and was waiting for us to finish our discussion. Andrea suggested I could watch them or join in afterward. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I expressed my disgust at the idea of being with her after she had been with him. Andrea stood firm, claiming he was outside, and the thought of their encounter made me feel sick. But now, Andrea, I have to say no and ask you to send him away. Andrea seemed panicked, realizing I wasn't going to agree. She tried to be more assertive, saying I should let her do this because I always let her make decisions. She believed it would be good for us and wanted me to at least try it once, claiming it would be so good that we might want to continue. I saw where Andrea's thoughts were going, and it seemed like she wasn't considering our marriage or vows. I told her to go get ready, and I would talk to her lover. She insisted he wasn't her lover, just someone providing hard, powerful, and dominant sex. She expressed her love for me and said she would always be mine. I pushed her away when she tried to hug and kiss me, seeing surprise and pain in her eyes. Realizing she was determined to go through with it, I told her to go upstairs and get ready. Despite her guilt, Andrea turned to leave, saying it would be epic. I sarcastically agreed, acknowledging her right to do it. While she went upstairs, I took her keys, phone, and credit card from her purse. In the kitchen, I grabbed a kitchen towel, some cable ties, and a large butcher knife. Ricardo was in his car, reading his phone. He greeted me, saying he would keep letting Andrea sleep with me until she was completely at his mercy. I didn't let him finish his last words. I threw a hard left punch, hitting him on the nose with all my strength. The sound of bones crunching and blood spraying confirmed that I hurt him. Blood dripped onto his fancy suit and car seat. I handed him a kitchen towel, saying he might need it. Ricky took it for his bleeding nose. As he leaned forward, I tied a cable tie around his left wrist, securing it to the headrest. Then, I hit him in the genitals with another punch. He curled up in pain, grabbing the steering wheel. I seized the chance to tie his right hand to the wheel. I taunted him for being a pathetic alpha male and said he'd learn from his mistakes. To make things epic for Andrea, I grabbed a water hose and broke the car window with a steel nozzle. I went to the front, smashing the windshield and headlights. I returned, laughing, and told him his car needed fixing. I took out a pocket knife, placed it on his throat, and demanded to know how many times he slept with my wife. He confessed to doing it twice in the past weeks and claimed it meant nothing. I looked at him with disdain, telling him I wouldn't kill him now, but warned that if he involved the police or caused any trouble, I would find him in the future. I threatened to slit his throat and spit in his face as he died. You decide. This might be the last time you see me, or you'll have to watch your back for a while, maybe a week, a month, or a year, until I decide to finish things. With those words, I leaned over him, stuck the knife into the car seat, and told him he'd needed to free himself. I said he could take it or go to the emergency room, but he had to get out of my sight. I went into the house, and when Andrea heard the door close, she called from the bedroom, asking if it was Ricardo. She thought everything was fixed with me. My first thought was, what a fool she is. I told her Ricardo was in the car and wanted her to go talk to him. I suggested he might have changed his mind. Andrea came down, still confused, wearing the underwear and robe I had bought her. She asked if everything was okay, and I told her I made sure Ricardo knew his future depended on him. I suggested she go out and talk to him. Andrea, thinking it would make us stronger, went outside. The door closed behind her. I went to the garage, opened the door, and heard her scream as I went upstairs. Ignoring her, I grabbed a suitcase, filled it with her clothes, makeup, and shoes. I went to the front guest room, opened the window, and threw the suitcase onto the driveway. Some perfume bottles might have broken, but I didn't care. I threw tennis shoes aiming at her head, but she dodged them. She looked at me with tears and asked what I was doing. I thought this is what she wanted. She apologized for upsetting me and hurting Ricardo, who was her boss. She pleaded to talk and find a way past this. Andrea, you sounded ridiculous since you came home with the idea of turning me into a cuckold. I wondered if something was wrong with you. Right now, it doesn't matter. I want you to leave. Take your lover to the hospital, but make sure to ask him what happens if the police or anyone else hears about today's actions. I'll pack your things and you tell me where to leave them, but don't come back here. With that, I closed the window, threw her purse at her, and told her it was over. I locked the door, opened my second beer, and realized I needed to talk to my lawyer and find a good divorce lawyer. Looking out the front window, I saw Ricardo cutting the cable ties and yelling at Andrea. He put her suitcase in the trunk, laid down, and they left. As the adrenaline wore off, I was shocked by what happened and how far my wife had strayed. I laughed at the idea that Ricardo fed her, thinking he was alpha, and I was beta. I realized she misunderstood my kindness as submission, thinking I'd let her cheat on me. In the following days, Andrea stayed away, calling me from unknown numbers. I assumed it was her since I had her phone. She left a voicemail, begging me to call back. I knew I had to face her, and since the police hadn't come, I thought I dodged a bullet. I called her and told her to come over in an hour to talk. I finished packing her things and waited on the porch. Andrea arrived in her car, which she had taken from work. I didn't know where she was staying. I was surprised that I didn't really care where Andrea had been. She got out of the car, waved at me, and sat beside me on the porch steps. Her face showed fear, shame, guilt, and apprehension. She looked like she had cried a lot and slept very little. Timidly, she apologized, saying she didn't understand how she fell for Ricardo's nonsense. She realized it was a mistake and promised to be the best wife. I asked about Ricardo in bed, and she claimed she never got close to him after what happened. He got scared, fired her, and they made up a story about a robbery. I appreciated that he did the right thing. Andrea said she wanted to come back home, be my wife, and asked for forgiveness. She promised to redeem herself, and we could be better than ever. I told her I had thought a lot, and decided that after 2 years of love and 3 years of marriage, our life together seemed boring to her. I believed she didn't respect me, thinking I'd be a submissive beta willing to accept her actions. I felt betrayed. Ricardo claimed you were sleeping with him for several weeks, believing in that alpha-beta male stuff. Your desires seemed more important than the promises we made. It's only been 5 years. What about 7, 10 or more? I can't trust you not to break our vows again. I haven't thought too much about it, but we have no kids, not much savings, and our house has little value. The risk of staying with you seems bigger than the benefits. I decided, Andrea, that staying with you isn't worth it. I think you might justify cheating again, and I've lost respect for you. I can't be with someone who doesn't respect me. Andrea cried as I explained my decision, and she cried when I said we were done. We're getting divorced. You keep your car, I'll keep mine. We can split our savings and sell the house. I want to start fresh with someone who loves and respects me. I hired a divorce lawyer, and we can do this amicably, or you can hire your own lawyer. Now let's load your luggage in the car, and you can go be with as many alpha males as you want. I'll start moving out next week and we can sell the house. Andrea begged for forgiveness, saying it was a mistake. But I told her it's time to move on. If our paths cross in the future, we can just say hello and move forward. I hope you find what you need. With those words, I started putting her things into the car. When we were done, I just said goodbye, went into the house, and closed the door on our marriage. Story 2. My wife and I met in Savannah while we were both in college, studying different things. She was into script writing, and I was studying archaeology. Our first date went well, and as we spent more time together, we realized how well we clicked. She was a bit geeky, very feminine, and great at communicating. We used to go to trivia nights at our favorite place every week when we first started dating. Before her third year of school, she moved in with her mom to save money, and her family loved me from the start. I had a job lined up as an archaeologist after graduation, and she had some trouble finding a job in her field. She started writing scripts but couldn't land a deal. I proposed and we moved into the house I bought. Despite her income, I knew I wanted to marry her. She worked as a receptionist for a nonprofit for 15 months, before starting her own home business, offering tarot card readings and selling crafts. While I traveled for work as an archaeologist, sometimes being away for up to 6 weeks, she managed her business. Although I missed the intimacy, I believed in the sacredness of marriage, waiting and being loyal. After a 6-week trip, we had a wonderful reunion, but I felt something was bothering her. As we watched a movie, she seemed hesitant to share, and her phone cloning added to the tension. I paused the movie and asked her what was on her mind. She swallowed hard and tears started to roll down her face. She confessed that she met someone at the market she enjoyed talking to. She wanted to consider being a life coach for him, but was unsure how I'd feel about them talking every day. I asked if I could read their messages, and she gave me her phone. After scrolling through, I didn't see anything that screamed infidelity. They discussed his move, and she encouraged him not to feel trapped. I told her it was okay for her to coach and have friends, but I wanted to know the first names of the people she talked to. I trusted her not to have an affair or act inappropriately. She accepted my terms, but I sensed a bit of disappointment in her. Half a year passed without any incidents or trouble in our relationship. While working in Tennessee, my wife called me one evening, crying. She asked if I wanted to sleep with other women during work trips. I assured her that I never felt the need to be with someone I didn't love. I emphasized that I made her my one and only when we got married, and I wanted nothing to come between us. She agreed and told me she loved me with all her heart. The next morning, my gut felt uneasy. I initially thought it might be food poisoning, but upon reflection, I realized I wasn't sure if I could trust my wife. She never directly asked about sleeping with someone else, but her questions made me uneasy. I decided to leave work early, even though my request was denied. I took a risk by coming home before my scheduled time. After hours of worrying and driving, I got home to see my wife's car in the driveway with no suspicious activity. I felt relieved, but it didn't last. As soon as I unlocked the front door, I heard noises from our bedroom. I rushed in to find my wife having sex with another man. When she saw me, she screamed. I told the man to leave, and he quickly gathered his clothes and exited. I stood there in disbelief for a few seconds, before reminding her that I had just discussed not wanting either of us to be with other people, as it would harm our relationship. She complained, asking what she was supposed to do when most of her life was spent waiting for me to love her, instead of actively loving her. I told her to do what a normal person does when they don't have access to a lover, not bring a stranger to our marital home for sex while I was out working. I made it clear that this went against the principles of marriage, and her fantasy of an open relationship wouldn't happen with me. I demanded a wife in every sense of the word. She was on her knees, crying, begging me to forgive her. She blamed herself for talking to other women about her situation, and listening to their encouragement to do whatever felt right. I couldn't believe that even though I was clear about my feelings on an open relationship, she sought advice from others who encouraged her to give in to temptation and break her vows. She cheated on me, kept me in the dark, and I caught her in the act. I told her to leave, but she claimed she didn't know where to go. I didn't care and suggested she stay with her family or friends. Instead, she sat in the hallway, making remorseful noises. I ignored her as best as I could, locking myself in the spare room. I had to stand my ground and share the house with her until the court ordered her to leave when the divorce was final. During this time, we lived separately under the same roof. I started posting daily on social media about what she had done, tagging all her profiles and business accounts. I commented on pictures of her tarot table setup, making remarks questioning her ability to foresee her own downfall. This definitely affected her reputation. Many potential customers saw my comments on her social media, which made her lose motivation for her business. She didn't try to find a job in her field again. With my testimony and phone records, I managed to avoid paying alimony. After the divorce, my ex moved back in with her mother, sister, and nieces, essentially returning to where she was in high school, but older and sadder. I can't believe my ex-wife had the audacity to be with someone else, especially after I clearly communicated that I wouldn't accept an open marriage. In my opinion, a real man doesn't agree to share his wife or himself with others in marriage. Marriage is a sacred bond between two people, not something open to sharing. She just couldn't be patient and happy with herself. Thank you for sharing your story, and I wish you the best moving forward. Story 3. As a child, I always dreamed of having my own family. I wasn't happy with the family I grew up in, so I promised myself that I would do better if given the chance. In high school, I met the girl who eventually became my wife. During tough times at home, she would meet me at a playground gazebo, bringing sleeping bags, pillows, snacks, and a tablet for movies. Luckily, living in a southern state allowed us to sleep outside most of the year without any issues. In that gazebo, nothing bothered us, not even bugs. I believed she was my guardian angel, and I knew I wanted to marry her once high school was over. We got married at 18. While her parents weren't thrilled, they knew me for years and allowed us to live in their basement. My wife was incredibly sweet and understanding. She truly loved me, and I made it my life goal to improve our lives together. We both started working to accumulate some money, and after 10 months, we bought our own trailer home, which was much nicer and larger than the basement. Together, we could afford the lot rent and all of the bills we acquired. My wife got a job she loved, but I faced challenges when diagnosed with early-onset fibromyalgia. The pain was intense, making it hard to work. Medication made me feel dreamy and unfocused. Feeling worthless, I stayed in bed a lot. My wife became my support, cooking and caring for me with unconditional love. Eventually, I started painting miniatures, discovering a talent that boosted our finances. Selling the figures for profit helped us financially. As my health improved, my wife wanted more adventure. I suggested date ideas like restaurants, plays, and karaoke. But she wanted hiking. I couldn't do that, so I encouraged her to find a group to go with. She was relieved and joined a hiking group through an app. When she returned, she was happy, talking about the hike and mentioning a new friend. I wondered if it was a woman, but I didn't press. I expressed my love and she blushed, saying she'd always remember it. A few days later, she kissed me. My wife asked why I didn't hang out with friends, but I told her I was fine being an introverted loner. I didn't need anyone but myself and her. The next day, she said her dad needed help moving stuff, a task I disliked. I agreed and went to their house, sensing something unpleasant. When I got back, I thought I saw a car leaving our driveway. I asked my wife who was here, and she claimed it was just her. I searched the house, noticing a strange half-footprint by the door. My wife acted normal but seemed off. A month later, she went on more hiking trips, taking selfies with the group. I felt uneasy and stayed home, not wanting to leave her alone. One evening, while painting, I felt a faint noise on the floor. Minutes later, I had a strong urge to check the house. I walked into the living room, glanced out the window, and didn't see my wife's car. After getting a drink, I heard a noise as I headed back to the spare room. Curious, I approached our bedroom door, and to my surprise, it was locked. Using a lockpick, I opened it and found a naked man I didn't know getting off my wife. She apologized, but when I got upset and asked her about it, she defended herself, claiming I wasn't adventurous. I was devastated, and as my vision spun, I passed out. When I woke up, she was crying over me. I told her to leave, but she insisted she was my wife. I disagreed and told her to go. She called her mom, who scolded her for her actions. Her mom came to help her move out while my wife kept apologizing and begging for another chance. I felt broken, and the intense love I had for her disappeared. She insisted we could fix it by staying together, but I saw it as a shattered relationship, and I couldn't see the point in holding on to the broken pieces. If I messed up, she wouldn't forgive me. In court, she admitted she wouldn't forgive me if the roles were reversed. Thankfully, I wasn't ordered to pay alimony, and I got to keep my house. The joke's on her because I started making a crazy amount of money with my miniature painting. I created my own group strategy game, which sold for over 6 figures. It's been years, and my ex-wife is still single, living in the basement we started out in. I've remarried and handled my second marriage in the same way as the first, except this time, my wife is actually worth it. Ahap, your wife had no respect or loyalty for you. As soon as she justified why she wanted to sleep with someone else, she did it. I firmly believe she had him over that day, when you saw a footprint. After years in a successful marriage, she became entitled and bored. She started to believe she was a great catch and needed a man that better suited what she wanted. I'm glad you got out of that situation. Story 4 grew to like her. The good thing was we were both single, and I was open to taking a chance with her. Right from my early teens, I had always loved intelligent girls who would blow me off my feet with their super brains, and I believed my prayers were answered when I met my ex-wife. But I was wrong. We were friends for 7 months before I asked her out. I didn't want to wait any longer before someone else would take her away from me. From the first month of our relationship, I felt we were made for each other. Months after we started dating, the level at which she influenced me grew, and many things changed in my life. We were the perfect couple, and every day I thanked God for meeting her. At the time we met, I was earning little, but I tried my best to gift her occasionally, even though they weren't expensive. I got her most of those books on business advertising, and even one popular marketing book. The ads were everywhere. After about 2 years of dating, she got her lucky break. She was contacted to be a business consultant for a top company in our country, which turned things around for us. I worked as a marketer and tried my best to close big deals. Within the first 2 years of dating my ex-wife, I closed deals I could not close in 4 years. And although it wasn't a lot of money, it was a stepping stone for me. Shortly after that, things started to fall into place for us. I improved with marketing, persuading clients and closing deals. She grew too. We married after dating for 3 years, and our lives continued improving. Before we remarried, we agreed not to have children until we reached a specific financial goal, and we didn't change the plan. We were driven by early success, and I believed that the same way famous, successful men and women had done it, we could do it too. For the first 3 years of our marriage, we put in a ton of effort, had sleepless nights, brainstormed together, started a business, and even sacrificed many things to achieve our dreams. The only luxury we had was the food we ate and the apartment we lived in. We owned a 2005 model car and invested every penny we made from our jobs in the business we were trying to grow. Luckily, we had the most significant break in the 4th year of our marriage. Sales skyrocketed, and even top organizations knew about us. In our 4th year of marriage, we decided to go on a vacation, the first after our small honeymoon. I was so excited about it and happy because my dreams had become a reality. We were able to move into a bigger and more comfortable apartment, and our business was doing well. We increased the number of our remote staff, and everything could be handled even in our absence. The money was rolling in steadily, and I was glad my ex-wife and I could finally live the life we had been dreaming of. I envisioned our vacation to be mind-blowing, full of intimacy and rekindling our love, but it opened my eyes to a very painful truth that I can't get over to date. While we were on vacation, my ex-wife was still connecting to her yoga classes online. It was just a part of her I had to deal with. She was committed and never missed a day, whether sick or not. On the 3rd day of our vacation, after we had gone up that morning, we returned to the apartment and rested that afternoon. She said she was going for a walk and asked if I'd join her, but since I was still sleepy, I told her I would stay back and rest. Unfortunately, after she left, I couldn't sleep anymore and couldn't contact her because she didn't go out with her phone. I became bored and decided to play a game on her tablet. I didn't use my phone because I would wander off and spend the whole afternoon working or conversing with my staff. That day, as soon as I started playing the game, a notification popped up, and it was from her yoga instructor. The last message he sent her read, "I love you," and had love emojis at the end, which I thought was odd. At first I thought her yoga instructor was only being nice to her, but a part of me wanted to learn more. So I clicked on the message and it opened up their main WhatsApp chat. When I saw what was there, it made my heart bleed. I found messages that dated back a year, and there were all forms of voice notes between them. They also exchanged their nudes, said dirty things to each other, and would occasionally make jokes about other members of their yoga class. I could not believe that my ex-wife was cheating on me with her yoga instructor, and she had it effortlessly because we were also so busy on our phones. I never suspected anything fishy was going on. I had even found out that they were always meeting at different hotels to get intimate, and each time they were together, they made videos of them in bed or in the bathroom together done on that day. I realized that my ex-wife was not obsessed with yoga, but she was obsessed with her yoga instructor. She repeatedly told him she worshipped the ground he walked on and said things to him that she had never told me. According to her messages, he was her spiritual guide and opened her eyes to the real truth. Reading all those weird things and seeing pictures and videos of them together destroyed a part of me. Even if I had been told by a psychic that my wife was cheating or would cheat on me, I would not have believed it. I trusted her with everything, and I wanted more than anything to spend the rest of my life with her. When I had seen enough, I forwarded all the messages, pictures and videos to my phone and cleared every trace that I had touched her phone. I returned to bed before she returned, but she could tell I was sad about something. She pressed to know what it was, and I lied to her that I had lost a mega deal and felt terrible about it. I pretended to be sick 2 days later, and our vacation was cut short. When we returned, I knew she wouldn't miss her yoga class the next day, and she didn't. An hour after she left that morning, I surprised her in her class and asked if I could play something on their general screen in her presence, and her yoga instructor agreed immediately. The first video started playing. Everyone gasped in surprise and turned to her and their yoga instructor. I watched my ex-wife stand there in confusion with tears in her eyes. She had tried to walk closer to me, but ended up running out of the hall in embarrassment. Her yoga instructor tried to hide a shame, but I played the recording too, and everyone saw their messages. It was such a big mess. When I got home, I realized that she had moved some of her things out of our room, and she left a small note which read, "I'm sorry." And that was the end of the road for us. We ended up divorcing and splitting every penny we made from the business. As for her yoga instructor, he was fired, and neither he nor my ex-wife dared show their faces at the facility again. I knew I could survive without her, but despite everything we had achieved together, I still hate her for doing that. She couldn't even face me to apologize or something. She just dropped a note. We haven't spoken to each other since then, and it's been 2 years now, and I've still been struggling to move on. Oh, P, it's terrible how good men always end up with unappreciative women. I'm so sorry this happened to you. It has happened, and it doesn't make sense for you to keep holding on to the past. Your ex-wife decided to cheat on you with her yoga instructor, and you shouldn't be too hard on yourself about it. I know she was a big part of your life, but it's time to move on. You're stronger than you realize. You just need to rediscover your strength. If you like this story, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment. It means a lot to us and helps spread the word about this video. Thanks for watching.